All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, mandatory minicamp for the Jets begins tomorrow. Man, I'm really excited. Of course, it's not training camp. It's not a joint practice. It's not, a preseason game, but the offseason is moving here, right? It's just one step closer to the start of the regular season. And I really wanted to talk about some of the storylines or maybe things I'm looking forward to or hoping to hear coming out of this little 3-day period. But before I dive into that, I wanted to kind of dive into this whole Aaron Glenn mystery, right? I actually have or had COVID over these past couple of days. I haven't really been doing much, just a lot of laying down. And I was thinking about this the other night, right? The Jets right now are just a tightly ran ship. Like there are so many question marks about this Jets team. So many question marks. And I think there's a calculated reason to that, right? It seems very, very intentional. Think about it. There's been no leaks out of the Jets building. The Jets are, feeling this way, or, some of the organization is feeling this way about Justin. None of that, right? I think that's really, a positive sign. Are there leaks coming out of the Chiefs building, of the Ravens building, of the Lions building, of the Packers building, of the Bills building? No. Successful teams, well-ran teams aren't just this leaky ship of information, right? Where it seems like tons of people have information regarding, what's happening behind closed doors. And right now, of course, it's early, but it just seems like the Jets are being ran differently. Another big question mark is the scheme, right? You get a pretty good feeling that the Jets are going to be a multiple defense, right? It's not just going to be so black and white. It seems like, okay, you know what? You have a guy in Aaron Glenn who's worked his way up, obviously, calling a 3-4 defense, calling a 4-3. He has experience in both. He's a former player. He's been around great coaches. You now have a veteran defensive-minded Steve Wilks calling the defense. Been around for a long, long time. Numerous teams, Chargers, Panthers, Cardinals, Browns, and more, right? Even coaching at the collegiate level. There seems to be maybe this veil that the Jets are kind of on purpose shading their schemes. Like they're not just diving into it with the media, because the media has asked questions about it, talking about like, blitz rate and stuff. And, these coaches are firing right back. Like what makes you assume that? It seems like there's an intention to keep some of these things hidden, right? And not to just spill the beans in June. And that's just on defense. Think of the offensive scheme, right? The assumption, a lot of people assumed, including myself, that the Jets offense was going to look a lot like the Detroit Lions offense. Why? Because Aaron Glenn, the new head coach, is coming in from Detroit. The new offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrand, is coming in from Detroit. That Detroit's offense, that Lions offense is no joke. It scores points on anybody. And it's based, the strength, the real core of that Lions offense, where everything, the seed is the offensive line. Having pieces, having reliable guys on that offensive line that are going to go out there and produce. You're looking at the Jets offensive line. Okay, we know who our five are going to be. Center, I guess, is up for debate right now with Josh Myers, and there's competition there. But regardless, it's a win-win because the best man's going to win and the best man's going to play. But the Jets go out and they sign Justin Fields early in free agency. And if you're comparing Goff to Fields, do they have similar play styles? No. The answer is absolutely not. So you go back and you listen to the Engstrand press conference. He's not giving many details out. He's not sharing a lot of info. We have heard from a couple of players that it's a pretty complex offense. Another assumption here, but I feel pretty good about it being a West Coast style of system, just basing it solely off of, Tanner Engstrand's mentors, right? Former coaches that he's worked under, Jim Harbaugh and whatnot. I'm going to say 95% we're going to see a West Coast system. But we don't have that clarity. So we don't really know much about the schemes. We don't really know much about, tendencies. We don't really have that much info coming out of the building. This Jets team is really a big, big mystery right now. And I think it's really cool that the Jets seem to be intentionally doing that. intentionally putting, wearing this cloak so where no teams can't just look at them and be like, oh yeah, that's an open book. That's a dysfunctional mess. Leaks are coming out left and right. Oh yeah, we feel pretty good about being able to source information from that team. I really don't feel like that's the case at this point in time with this new regime. But anyway, looking at mandatory minicamp, what really am I hoping for? Of course, goes without saying, no injuries. No injuries. That's obviously number one, in my opinion. But number two, I think everybody's really hoping for more positive reports coming out with Justin Fields. Now, the reports with Fields have been kind of mixed. You listen to some guys and they're saying, he's holding on to the football for too long and he's missed guys. You listen to other guys report on Fields and they say, oh, he's looked actually really, really good. So, I think in mandatory minicamp, hopefully we can just get some more clarity on the situation and that Fields is coming out better on the other end. Another big storyline that I'm circling, are the rookies getting better? Does Armand Membu look better today than he did when the Jets first brought him in with rookie minicamp? Now, of course, there's no contact and whatnot, so there's really only so much that you can gauge. But outside of Membu, of course, you have Mason Taylor. What about Azareye'h Thomas? Malachi Moore? The Jets could very well be relying on a lot of these different rookies to not only just, get reps, but to make plays. Mason Taylor, Armand, like these guys, like if they're starting, like Mason Taylor's tight end 1 on this football team. Armand Membu, right tackle 1 on this football team. Malachi Moore could be the starting strong safety for this football team. AZ Thomas could be the first guy up off of the bench. He was considered by many people for a decent amount of the draft season as a first round pick. So, draft Daniel Jeremiah and whatnot. Like Thomas has some serious potential, serious talent here. So how are these guys, growing throughout this process? Now, mandatory minicamp, of course, is only a 3-day period, but there's been a lot of voluntary OTA practices up to this point. Are guys growing? Are guys ascending? Or are they going backwards, staying the same? I hope that we get some more positive reports. Could you imagine 2 days from now we get a report that, say for example, Malachi Moore looks, he's rolling with the ones. He looks like he belongs. All of a sudden, you're looking at the safety room saying, okay, great, we have Cisco and Moore. This was a huge position of need coming into the offseason. And now you're just kind of naturally feeling really, really good, or at least better, about the position. So I think stuff like that is really important. And then last but not least, do we get an update about the contract situations? Right, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. I think Jermaine Johnson, that whole situation is kind of up in the air right now just because of the injury and everything. But AVT's in a contract year. Breece Hall is in a contract year. There's a lot of guys that, we can start talking about future contracts with. Do any of those get answered? Does news break that Garrett Wilson becomes one of the highest paid wide receivers in football and he becomes a Jet for the long term? Who knows? We don't know how Darren Mougey likes to operate, but anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys, and as always, go Jets.